Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 3, Verse 3. Atah tam aviskruta bhuja yugaladvayam hiranmayam purusha vishesham kapisha kosheyambaradharam urasi vilasat srivatsalamam Daravaravaruhavana malachiri amrutamanim gadadibir upalakshitam sputakirana pravara mukuta kundalakataka katisutra harakeyuranupuradianga Bhushana Vibhushitam Ritvik Sadasya Grihapatayo Dhanaivottama Dhanam Upalabhya Sabahumanam Arahenanvata Siryasena Upatastuhu. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Vishnu appeared before King Nabhi with 4 arms. He was very bright and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment. On his chest was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried a conch shell, lotus flower, disc and club, and he wore a garland of forest flowers. And the Kaustubhajam. He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, belt, pearl necklace, armlets, ankle bells, and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. Seeing the Lord present before them, King Nabhi and his priests and associates felt just like poor people who have suddenly attained great riches. They received the Lord and respectfully bent their heads and offered him things in worship. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is distinctly mentioned here that the Supreme Personality of Godhead did not appear as an ordinary human being. He appeared before King Nabhi and his associates as the best of all personalities, Purushottama, as stated in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also a living being, but he is the Supreme Living Being. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, Mattah paratara nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. No one is more attractive or more authoritative than Lord Krishna. That is one of the differences between God and an ordinary living being. According to the description of the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu, the Lord can easily be distinguished from all other living beings. Consequently, Maharaj Nabhi and his priests and associates all offered the Lord obeisances and began to worship him with various things. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yam ladbha chaparam labham manyate nabhiktam tataha. That is, upon gaining this, one thinks that there is no greater gain. When one realizes God and sees the Lord face to face, one certainly thinks that he has gained the best of all things. Rasopi asya param drishtva nivartate. When one experiences a higher taste, his consciousness is fixed. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything material. One then remains steady in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
We are reading in this chapter about son, the first son of Agnidra, King Nabhi. And we saw in the previous verse that how King Nabhi performed various austerities and sacrifices, and the Lord was pleased, and by his devotional activities And so, what did the Lord do when he was pleased? Ataha tam avishkruta. Avishkruta, he manifested himself before King Nabhi and his associates who were all worshipping him. How did he avishkruta? How did he manifest? Bhuja yugala dvayam. With bhuja, with shoulders, arms, yugala dvayam, two pairs, so forearms. And the Lord's body was hiranmayam, bright, effulgent. And he appeared as Purusha Vishesham, not some impersonal thing. He appeared as Purusha, but not an ordinary Purusha, Vishesha Purusha, Purusha Vishesham. And he was Kapisha Kausheya Ambaradharam. He was wearing Ambaradharam. He was wearing garment which was Kapisha, yellow, Kausheya, silk, Ambaradharam. Urasi Vilasat Shrivatsa. And on his chest was bright, brilliant, beautiful Shrivatsa Lalamam mark. And he was holding Daravara. He was holding conch shell, Vanaruha, lotus flower, Vanamala, wearing a garland of forest flowers, Achuri. He was having the chakra, Amritamani, the Kaustuba gem, Gadadibihi, Gada and others, club and others, Upalakshitam, symptomized. So he was a personality who had all these with him. And Sputa Kirana, and it was radiant, Pravara, excellent, Mukuta, he wore a crown, Kundala, earrings, Kataka, bracelets, Katisutra, girdle, Hara, necklace, Keyura, armlets, Nupura, ankle bells, Adi, and so on. Anghabhushana Vibhushitam. So his body, his bodily parts were Anghabhushana Vibhushitam, decorated with all these ornaments. Ritvik Sadasya Grihapatayaha. Ritvik, there were priests assisting King Nabhi, Sadasya, and he had many associates, and he was the Grihapati. So Grihapatayaha, King Nabhi. Now what did he feel when this happened to him? Adhanaha iva uttama dhanam upalabhya. Adhanaha, dhana, wealth, adhanaha, somebody who has no wealth, poor people. Adhanaha iva uttama dhanam upalabhya. If somebody, a poor person, receives uttama dhanam, great treasure, upalabhya, he receives, achieves what he feels. They felt like that. The priests, associates, and King Nabhi felt that way. And Sabahumanam, Manam means honor, Bahumanam means lot of honor, great regard, great respect, with great respect. Sabahumanam, Arhanena, Arhana, to worship with various ingredients, Avanata, with bent head, Shirshanaha, Avanata Shirshanaha, with bent head, Upatastuhu, they worshipped. So Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport, when King Nabhi, priests and associates performed devotional activities, Lord was pleased and he manifested before him. And he manifested before him as a personality. So Prabhupada quotes here As stated in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also a living being. This is an important philosophical point, that ultimately the Supreme Absolute, what is the nature of that Supreme Absolute? And that Supreme Absolute is a living person. And Prabhupada is quoting, Chetanas Chetananam Nityo Nityanam. Chetana, we have all experienced, all of us have Chetana, consciousness. And because we are conscious, we are all of us a person, a living person, different from a table. The table or the chair has no personality. It has no consciousness. Wherever there is consciousness, there is a personality. So the Vedas say, Chetanas Chetananam, Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kama. This is in the Upanishads. Sometimes people say, Upanishads are very impersonal. No, the Upanishad is directly saying, Chetanas Chetananam. There is one eternal and many eternals. There is one conscious being and there are many conscious beings. And that one eternal conscious being is maintaining and providing the desires of the many conscious beings. So very clearly, from the Upanishads, we can see that the personality of Godhead, that absolute truth, is a person. So Prabhupada is pointing this out, and as this verse says, as the Bhagavatam says, Bhuja Yugala Dvayam Hiranmayam Purusha Vishesham. It's important for us to see how Krishna brings this out towards the end of the 15th chapter of Gita. May remember this 15:15. It's a short, small chapter. Krishna says, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. This statement, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyaha, is a very significant statement. So many Vedas are there, so many Vedic literatures are there. What is the purpose of all of them? Ahameva vedyaha, Vedaischa sarvair. It is all meant to understand Krishna. And then Vedanta Krit, I am the compiler of the Vedanta. Vedavit, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Aham chaham, aham Vedanta Krit, aham Vedavit, Vedaischa sarvair, ahameva vedyaha. So who is saying all this? Krishna, standing in front of Arjuna, is saying this. He is the source. He is the goal of all Vedic literatures. So Arjuna was thinking, Krishna is my cousin. He has become a charioteer. And he is telling Krishna, take the chariot, here, there. Now he is realizing, who is this person standing in front of him? He is the goal of all the Vedas. So having said this, I am the goal of all the Vedas. I am the compiler of the Vedanta. I am the knower of the Vedas. I am to be known from all the Vedas. Now Krishna summarizes the entire Vedic information in the next 4-5 verses. That's why this is very, very important, the way how Krishna builds this up. So let's see the logic carefully. First, Krishna says, Dvavimau purushau loke ksharakshara evacha. He first of all, Krishna begins to say, there are two kinds of living entities. Some of them are kshara, some of them are akshara. Dvav imau purushau loke. And these are purusha, living entities. Dvav, two kinds. Dvav imau purushau loke. Kshara kshara evacha. Kshara and akshara evacha. Now, where are these kshara? Ksharaha sarvani bhutani. All the living entities we see in this material world are kshara. Kutastha akshara uchyate. Kutastha. Kutastha means unchanging, fixed. Akshara uchyate. And those who are unchanging, fixed in the spiritual world. In the material world, we are always kshara. Kshara means fallible, diminishing, debilitating. All of us, we will be young for some time, and then slowly our body begins to debilitate. It begins because we are kshara. So the living entities in the material world, sarvani bhutani kshara. And kutastha in the spiritual world, it is unchanging. So those living entities in the spiritual world are akshara. So there are two kinds of living entities, kshara and akshara. Those who are here are akshara, those who are there in the spiritual world are akshara. This is the first point, the summary of the Vedic literature. This is what is happening. This is what we are, and that's the spiritual world. This is the characteristic of the material existence. The body is undergoing constant changes. We are born, it grows, it stays for some time, it produces byproducts, and then begins to dwindle and vanishes. So those who are going through this are called kshara. And this kind of a change does not happen in the spiritual existence, and so they are known as akshara. There are two kinds of living entities. Kshara, akshara uchyate. The next. Then Krishna is saying, Uttama Purushastva Anyaha. There is one more Uttama Purusha. This is also Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha. Apart from these two kinds of living entities, there is a third, and he is Uttama Purushaha. Uttama Purushastva Anyaha. Apart from these two, now you see very clear. Now no Mayavadis can actually refute these things. Even those who are in the liberated stage and those who are in the material world, apart from them there is another Purusha, not another light. You see, Uttama Purushastva Anyaha, and he is known as Paramatma iti Udahritaha. So Krishna is telling about Paramatma. Uttama Purushastva Anyaha, Paramatma iti Udahritaha. He is known as Udahritaha. He is known as Paramatma. And who is this Paramatma? What does he do? Yaha Lokatrayam Avishya. He enters into all the three universes. Lokatrayam Avishya. He is the one who enters into the material world. And he enters into the hearts of the living entities. He is Paramatma. Lokatrayam Avishya Bibharti. And that's how he holds maintains the universe. Bibharti. Avyaya. He is inexhaustible. And Ishvaraha. He is the controller. He is the controller of all the three worlds and all the living entities there. So, now look at this. Uttama Purushastva Anyaha Paramatmeti Udahritaha Yaha Lokatrayam Avishya Bibharti Avyaya Ishvaraha. So first Krishna talked about living entities here, living entities there, and then he said there is another living entity who is Uttama Purusha. He is known as Paramatma. Now what about Krishna? Next he tells about himself. Yasmat ksharam atitoham. Aham, now he is talking about himself. Ksharam atitoham. I am beyond, transcendental to the Kshara. Aksharadapi chottamaha. How about the living entities there? I am uttamaha to them also. Aksharadapi uttamaha. Cha uttamaha. Athosmi loke vede cha pratitaha purushottamaha. And hence I am celebrated. Pratitaha means glorified, celebrated. I am celebrated both in the Loke and in the Veda as Purushottamaha. So Krishna talked about living entities here, living entities there, and then he said there is another Uttama Purusha known as Paramatma, Trilokam Avishya, Vibharti, Avyaya, Ishvaraha. He is the one who is controlling. And apart from that, I am there. And I am transcendental to the living entities here. Supreme personality in this, beyond this, supreme, superior to the living entities in the spiritual world. And hence I am celebrated in the Vedas and in this world as Purushottama. So Krishna is talking about Paramatma and he himself as Purushottama. So he is a Purusha, but he is a Uttama Purusha. That's why Prabhupada is saying here, Purusha Vishesham. Lord who appeared in front of King Nabhi, he is a Purusha, but he was a Vishesha Purusha, Uttama Purusha. And then Krishna says, we only left with 2 more verses in this chapter. How Krishna is building up this. So important. After saying that he is that Purushottama, then Krishna says, Yomam evam asammudo janati Purushottamam. Janati. Yomam evam asammudo janati. Janati means one who knows. How he knows? Asammudo janati. Mudha, asammudha means bewildered, unclear, doubtful. Asammudo means doubtlessly, with clarity, with conviction. Yomam evam asammudo janati Purushottamam. One who knows me to be that supreme personality, Purushottama, and knows how, without a doubt, without any doubt. Yomam evam asammudo janati Purushottamam sa sarvavet. He is the knower of everything. Sa sarvavit. And after knowing this, what does that person do? Bhajati mam. Sa sarvavit bhajati mam. He worships me. He does devotional service unto me. And how does he do that? Without any heart? Sarva bhavena bharata. With full of devotion. Sarva bhavena mam bhajati. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting, asammudo janati, he is to be understood as the knower of everything, sarvavit, and he therefore engages himself in full devotional service, sarva bhavena bhajati mam bharata, O son of Bharata, is telling Arjuna. So, we can see how this is the conclusion of the Vedas. This is the essence of the Vedas. Krishna is summarizing in 5 verses. And then, the next one is the last verse. Iti guhyatamam shastram. This is the confidential part of the Vedas. Iti guhyatamam. This is the guhyatama, the most confidential message of the Vedas. Iti guhyatamam shastram idamuktam mayanagha. I have described this to you, Arjuna. You see how Krishna is so mercifully, friendly, compassionately sharing this with his friend about, I have shared with you, this is the confidential message of the Vedic literatures. Etad buddhva buddhiman syat. One who knows this, he is a real wise person. Krita krityascha bharata. And for him, krita krityaha. This is the perfection of all activities. There is nothing further perfection for him. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. O sinless one, Mayanaka. And it is disclosed now by me. It's a very confidential thing. But idam uktha, I have disclosed that to you. Whoever understands this will become wise. Etad buddha buddhiman syat. And his endeavors will know perfection. Krita krityaha. His endeavors will know perfection. And that's how this 15th chapter of the Gita ends, known as Purushottama Yoga. That's why this chapter is called Purushottama Yoga, because it's describing Purushottama. And that Purushottama appeared here before King Nabhi and his priests and his associates. And how did they feel when the Lord appeared before them? Adhana ivottama dhanam upalabhya. Just like a poor man, suddenly there is a lot of riches, wealth bestowed upon him, and suddenly he was, what a wonderful thing. Now I've become so rich, I was so poor. So King Nabhi and the Ritviks and the Sadasi, his associates, all felt that way. And that's why Prabhupada is quoting this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. This is Krishna describing in the 6th chapter of the yoga system. He's saying when the yogi is able to see that Paramatma, when he realizes Paramatma, what he feels is yam labdva cha. Now I have attained this vision of Paramatma. Now I have realized Paramatma. There is no greater gain than this. There's nothing greater than this. This is the highest. And then, very nicely, Prabhupada concludes this purport. Very, very interesting. After seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted by anything material. This is the proof of somebody who has had transcendental experience. He is no more attracted to anything material. Some years ago, it was in the year 1985-86, we were in a small temple, not like this, and we had translated the Bhagavad Gita into Kannada, and we wanted to print, because Srila Prabhupada wanted his books to be published. We didn't have this land, so you should imagine that state. We were in a rented place. From a small rented place, we had moved to a bigger rented place. And we wanted to print Kannada Bhagavad Gita. That was not there in Kannada language. And very painstakingly, it was translated, edited, corrected. A lot of things had happened. And we had made an estimate. And the estimate was, if I remember, it costed 60,000 rupees. And we didn't have money that much. And so we were going here, there, different people we were going to. And so somebody told us there is one man not very far from here, and you should go and ask him. He's a very generous person, a great devotee of Krishna. So we went in the morning, and I can't remember. We met him many times. Okay, first time we met him in his house. And he said, oh, he was very happy to see us. But you should know that we were not well known like it is today in Bangalore. Big temple, Akshay Patra, we were not known. So anyway, he was respectful to us, and he said, so you are talking about printing a Bhagavad Gita? And then he said, I have to ask Krishna whether I should give this donation or not. So we were thinking, okay, what does he mean by that? So he said, I have a Krishna with me, and every day I talk to him. And so I have to ask him. And I'll ask him, if he says, whatever he says, I will do. And so he said, and then he started describing his Krishna. He has a small Krishna, and wherever he goes, he takes him. I go to the office, I carry with me, and I put him on the office in my office table. And I come home, I bring him with me in the car. And when I sleep, he also sleeps next to me. And when I go to the bathroom to have bath, I don't know, something like that. So this kind of a man who said that I'm doing this, and I have to ask him. Everything I do, I ask him. So we thought, he's going to ask and now going to give us a reply quickly, whether he's going to give the check or what is it. I don't know if new FR devotees encounter these kind of people even now. So he said, it will take 1 week to get the answer. So we said, all right, 1 week, we'll wait. And so he said, next you come to the office. So we went to his office after a week. And then he said, I asked Krishna. He said, I should give a will. And in the will I must write, my kidneys will be donated. And whoever gives the donation amount, that donation amount you can use for printing your Gita. So we came back disappointed. When is he going to die? What will he get out of it? So, we come across these kind of people. They say, I'm talking to Krishna, I'm with Krishna, he talks to me, all these kind of things. But if we study them, a rich man, lot of money, but he didn't want to give money to print Krishna's own Gita. So you see how this kind of a hallucination they live in? So Prabhupada is saying, after seeing Supreme Personality of Godhead, one ceases to be attracted to anything material. This is the proof of somebody who has seen Krishna. No more attracted to anything material. One then remains steady in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So people talk, I have seen Krishna, I talked to Krishna, I have understood this. There is another very interesting anecdote in the life of Srila Prabhupada. I'll just very quickly share that. This was in 1971. Srila Prabhupada visited Madras. Prabhupada was very respectfully received by different prominent citizens. Prabhupada met the governor and the Chief Justice of Madras High Court invited Srila Prabhupada to his home. And in his home, he had invited other judges and Prabhupada spoke to them. And Prabhupada spoke to them and told them about, Prabhupada had gone with his devotees, Western devotees, and among his Western devotees there was the devotee couple and their child Saraswati. She was a 3-year-old child, talking, running around like that. But she would be part of the entourage of Srila Prabhupada and wherever his few disciples went with him. And so Prabhupada went to the house of this Chief Justice and his Western disciples were there. And little Saraswati was also there. And later on, after the talk and the judges all went away, the Chief Justice took Prabhupada to the inner chambers, and there was a dinner arranged, and Prabhupada took part in all that. And the judge became very, very friendly, and he was very devoted. Justice Veerasamy or something like that was his name, and very respectful. And then towards the end, when they were leaving, judge brought a 6-inch silver Krishna deity and presented that to that little girl. And so Prabhupada saw, and in front of her, he honored Prabhupada also and gave this one. And little Saraswati took that. She was very happy, smiled and all that. And then they left. And Prabhupada was there in Madras for a few more days. And once again, the justice came to see Srila Prabhupada. Very respectful, very, very devoted. In fact, this judge, devotees were cultivating him nicely, and he wanted to take initiation. He had started chanting. I don't know whether he was chanting 16 rounds. He had started chanting, and he wanted to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada. So the devotees brought this matter up with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he wants to take initiation, but he is addicted to drinking coffee. So Prabhupada said, as a special case, I will initiate him, even if he is taking coffee. So I don't think that happened, but that was the conversation. So Srila Prabhupada was in the place where he was in he was hosted by some people in Madras, some life members. So the judge came to his house, and Prabhupada was talking. And at that time, Prabhupada told the judge that Prabhupada was very friendly. Prabhupada was elderly, and the judge was also senior in his age, of course, younger than Srila Prabhupada, but very respectful. So Prabhupada told him, you see, you gave that silver murti to that little girl, but it's a very expensive thing. It's not very right. So I have taken it away, and we will give her something else. And the judge said, I leave it to you, Swamiji and Prabhupada, like that. And then Prabhupada was talking, and then he was telling them about different aspects of Krishna consciousness, something about Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, how they all came from very aristocratic background, but when they gave up everything and started serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada was with the judge, few other devotees, few guests, and this kind of a very sober, serious Krishna conscious discussion is going on. And suddenly the door opens, and the little girl Saraswati runs in, and she says, Prabhupada, I don't know where is Krishna. Krishna is gone. That little Krishna that she was. So Prabhupada had told the devotee to take it away. And now she realized, and she comes and she says, Krishna is gone. Where is Krishna? And then the devotees are all saying, oh, Prabhupada says, oh, Saraswati, where is Krishna? And then she says, Prabhupada, I don't know. She's crying, tears in her eyes. And then Prabhupada says, maybe go look there under the pillow. And she runs there under the pillow. She picks up the pillow and she says, no, and it is not there. Maybe it's with that devotee. Prabhupada points out. She runs to her father, and then Prabhupada, the girl looks around, not there. And then she's looking around, here, there, and she's full of anxiety, tears in her eyes. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And then Prabhupada begins to tell the judge, describing the whole thing, that this is how the Goswamis were. He Radhe Vraja Devika Chalalite, He Nanda Suna Kutaha. Kutaha, where is? He Radhe Kutaha, where are you? Nanda Suna, son of Nanda Maharaj, Kutaha, where are you? So this was the mood of the Goswamis. The Goswamis never said, now I have seen Krishna. Now I have understood Krishna. No, their mood was not like that. He Radhe Vraja Devi Kecha Lalite, He Nanda Suna Kutaha, Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Kutaha. Where is Krishna? Is he in Govardhan? He is under the trees in the forests of Vrajapure Kutaha. In the forests of Vrindavan, under some trees. Where is Krishna? This was their anxiety. Goshantaviti. And they used to call out, Krishna, where are you? Kedair Mahavihvalau. With intense distress. Kedaihi means they were distressed. Mahavihvalau. And they're very, very agitated. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Not that I have seen Krishna, I talk to Krishna, he comes with me, he sleeps with me. This is taking things very cheaply. They don't know Krishna is Purushottama. Loke Vedeja Pratitaha. He's celebrated in the Vedic literatures. He's celebrated everywhere in the world. He's Purushottama. He's the controller of the whole universe. They're taking things very cheaply. So, this is the symptom of somebody who has realized Krishna. And so Prabhupada began to explain this mood. And very interestingly, Prabhupada, in that circumstance, this little Saraswati had developed that kind of an anxiety, and there were tears in her eyes, very distressed, running around. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And then one of the devotees said, Saraswati, Prabhupada has Krishna. And so she comes running to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Krishna, where is... And Prabhupada brings from behind this. He has already made an arrangement. A small little Krishna, a small, not so expensive thing. And he gives it to her. And Krishna, Saraswati picks up that one. Oh, Krishna, Prabhupada has Krishna. And seeing that, she is very, very happy. And she runs out of the room. So, very interestingly, how Prabhupada created this kind of an impression and conveyed a very significant thing, that how the great devotees, the 6 Goswamis, were in intense distress and anxiety to see Krishna. What is important is, in our lives, in our spiritual life, whether one is a bhakta, whether one is a little older devotee, one is a very big devotee, responsibilities, or whatever it is. And in our lives, we will go through some difficulties. But this Kedair Maha Vishwalo, this was the mood of the Goswamis. Our anxiety that I must know Krishna, I must understand Krishna, that should be so much stronger that all these difficulties and the criticism and this and that and challenges we may come across in our lives should just not bother us. This is the inspiration for us. This is the example for us, the 6 Goswamis, and how much they were feeling that intense anxiety. That intense anxiety is the prize to achieve Krishna consciousness. So we must be aspiring, desiring that intensity of desire. Kedair Mahavihvalau, always in that state of anxiety. That is the mood of the God. This is the example. This is the example the Acharyas have set for us. And so when small difficulties, challenges come in our life, we should not be disturbed by that. This is the example. This is what I must achieve in my life. This is the goal we must set. Then all these challenges will become just insignificant things. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.